Hey, it's Wolfy-Chan back with another manga review, and this one is Beasts of Abigaile or Abigail. Not really good at knowing how to say it because even in the story, it's called Rabania where they live. So I don't know. I don't know. It's very interesting though, and it's actually been a manga that I've seen around for about a year now, and once I finally spent $300 on manga, I decided to buy it and read it. This one, I'm more than likely going to keep reading. Um, so it's about, oh, goodness gracious, I need to keep looking at what their names are, right? Da, 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 da. Yes, yes, stories about that. Nina, that's it. Sorry. I just had to make the connection with Nina Tucker. Yep. Anyway, so Nina has moved into Robania, which there's a whole thing about werewolves and the reason why werewolves exist, and the people planted a whole bunch of flowers that smelt like blood into a place to kind of capture them and kill them, and they've never heard any other werewolves ever again. Whoa! But it's a big thing in Romania. This is a big tourist thing. It'd be like going to Romania and seeing all the stuff about vampires and Dracula and stuff like that. I know that's a big part of kind of tourists and stuff like that. And, for some, I bet you anything like the people there are like, God, I don't care anymore. I don't care. And I feel like that would be the same way with the people here. It's just like, okay, it's part of the tourism, but Rebani is cool for other ways. So Nina is going out. Like, she came, she's like, I'm about to start school. Yay, family, all that good stuff. Woo! Yeah, it's really kind of cool. And she goes for a walk around Romania. Well, there are some people that are picking these roses. And she's like, oh, it'd be awesome. And says this out loud. Oh, it'd be awesome to have one of these roses. And one of the people who are picking them is like, oh, I'll get you one. And so she picks a couple and is about to give it to her, and she. And so the girl's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. And she's like, it's okay. It's okay. Just gonna. I'm just gonna go now. Okay, bye. And so they see this. She sees a place off into the distance. Um, and her uncle, because it's not her father, her uncle says it's an academy of some sort. Um, or prison. I can't exactly remember exactly what he said, but it's just an abandoned island building off there. It's okay. So she sits at kind of this bridge and then sees this thing or person running away from cops. And she's like, oh, it's a prisoner and he's escaping. I better stop him. She does, and all of a sudden his hood comes up. He has ears, which the weird thing about this, and I think you can kind of see in there, they have human ears and these weird furry ears that look like they should just be part of their hair. And then they have tails. And they're called the Luga. Um, so he is a Luga. He bit her, and then all later on in the book, he just says, "Look, I've bitten a lot of people, like people. Nobody's turned into a Luga. You're the first one that it weirdly happened to." And the guy that did this, his name's Roy, and he's not a great guy. He is a rated R piece of work that I just. I read. I think there's something in like the back or cover, or I might have read something that it's like he starts to fall for her and somebody else does, and I'm like, okay. But she gets chained up and comes to the academy, which is technically a prison for Lugas. And the Lugas are all on the island. So they are werewolves, technically. But there are people like Gil and I believe the president or the student council president who you can just take your ears away. Like you can, oh, just think about it and your ears just disappear. And you look normal. Really? What about the tails? Don't like you. Don't like you. Sort of. But if she, of course, she's with all these little pups, and one of the guards in there treats one of the pups very poorly, and she kicks him in the face. She's a very nice and outgoing girl. Who'd have thought, right? So she goes in, gets taken by Gil, and is like, "Hey, you don't smell right. You smell like a human." And she's like, "Well, I am a human. I don't know why I have ears and a tail. I've never been a Luga before. I don't know what Luga are, and I didn't know any of this." And they're like, "This is school. It's kind of teach you basically to be hospitable to humans, and you're basically trained to be a slave. You're trained to basically be docile, be of use, and just don't stand out. And you'll go back into the world, but you'll be a slave." Kind of sucky. Um, and so Gil gives her this kind of thing that masks her scent a bit. Um, she's like, "Oh, you're so cute and handsome," and stuff like that. Um, but they go to dinner, and Gil doesn't follow. So, like, this guy is like, "You should come with us in my home," which is part of the pack system. And there are multiple packs in the school. And she's like, "I don't like this," and he, like, licks and sniffs her, and it's weird. But she's like, "No, I'm not gonna join." Roy has come back from his isolation because he escaped, tried to escape. Um, and so he's like, "I don't want her anywhere in my home." And then, like, pushes her against the wall and is like, "I know what you really are," and yada, yada, yada. And then he kisses her, and it's like, "You're marked now." Bam. He also has a girl who's really into him and is already very angry about that. Who'd have thought? So she then kind of grabs her and is like, I'm going to turn you into an Omega." Which in a pack system, there are alphas, and then Omegas are basically the bottom. So, woot. And it's all, alpha, beta, gamma, omega. It's kind of that. Everyone has a part and a role that they play in a pack. But she doesn't go away or wherever she's supposed to, and then gets trapped in solitary, and then talks to this guy about, like, "Oh, Rubania used to be a werewolf capital. It used to be where the wolves were, and we'd walk around and stuff like that." And she's like, "I didn't know any of this," and he's this person. She thinks it's a she, it's a he. Woo, big surprise. uh, they say that, like, this world, or Rubania, used to be just for the wolves and stuff like that. And she's like, "I didn't know that." And he's like, "Well, what the snap? Aren't you a Luga?" And she's like, "I was a very sheltered Luga." So, um, they the way the story is they had one true alpha, one true king that was very peaceful and everything like that. And then humans came upon, and because Robania was so beautiful, the humans took it and forced them into here, and then forced them to become slaves. And the king just disappeared, and they don't know where he is. Somebody wants to find him, and the whole thing is they howl, hoping to hear their alpha come back. Without their alpha, they're a fraction. They're not all together. Nothing like that. And of course, then afterwards, she talks more with Roy in a messed up way. So I think it's in the lunchroom. So it's before this that like, you turned, and I don't turn people, and I'm like, already 2 plus 2 theory that she is the daughter of the king leader. He fell in love with a human, and he had to go away because, once again, werewolf society, all werewolves, why love and or date a human? So he went off, mated with a woman, and all this good stuff. Maybe her parents died, maybe something happened, I don't Doesn't really say much about that yet. But that's why she all of a sudden turned into a Luga, is that she is the daughter of the old alpha. So that would be really cool. I don't know if that's a thing, but um, out of isolation, this guy is like all like beard and stuff. He's like, I want my razor back and all this stuff. Then turns into a really pretty boy and is like, oh, just don't stand out or anything like that. And she's like, I don't really have a home, and you guys are really nice, and I want a warm coat. And he's like, fine, you may join my home, which I am the alpha of. Um, but you're going to be a gamma, which means you're just gonna run around and do whatever, whatever we say until you're fully in our pack. And his pack is like 3 other guys that are all very pretty boys, and they're off comment of stop bringing girls. You could bring a hot guy though. Like, okay, reel it in, boys. We get it. You're very into fashion and all that stuff. So she, of course, then becomes part of like I believe it's called Schwarzkopf or Schwarzen, which is the bad class, which means all the people who are misfits or not really good all go into this class. It goes, I think, the first one is like the good class, the people who are going to turn into student council and who will graduate from this academy in Wu. Next one is just the normies, people who just don't fit into either category, go into the middle. And of course, she's part of the misfits. She goes in with them and her home. And of course, Roy is there. He shows up a little bit later, and the person that she kicked in the face, who was human, is also the teacher of this class. Woot. But they get him to run. And yeah. And then the next thing, like, what do they teach in class? Sniff out the best flower. And she meets this other werewolf that's named Poe. And Poe is painting with, like, the rose flowers and stuff like that. It's very pretty. But he is an Omega. And, of course, Omegas are very below, and you're not really supposed to talk to them. But the thing is like, in an actual wolf pack, Omegas are useful. They're there to take care of the kids and make sure everything's okay. That's kind of the weird thing about Omegas, is they're usually the people who take care of people. But in this one, it's more like they're just put down. So her and Poe can't smell, like, what's a great flower, because Poe cannot smell. And people kind of rough him up about it. And she's a human. She doesn't know what a great smelling flower is, so she tries her best. Fast forward, then they kind of go into where they kind of live, and she's kind of sleeping and stuff like that, and they're like, oh my goodness, you got A's on the human studies. You're so good. I'm so glad we, like, let you stay in the pack, and this is the guy who's the alpha, is like, I was about to, like, throw you off and cast you off, but now that you know that, and he's like, I was going to cast you off because of your nose, but now that, like, you can do that, like, oh boy, you're staying now. Like, it's weird, but cute. But then she kind of gets in a kerfuffle with everybody else, but then, she's called to do, dishes with Roy, because they're the bad two. And the human officers are drinking. It looks like somebody is very scantily dressed. And they're having all a good time. And it's like, oh, God, really? No wonder humans are not great here. Oh, Jesus. So she does dishes. Roy doesn't really give one. But then Roy really wants to mess with her and is like, I've marked you. You're mine. You do whatever I want you to. And she is, once again, human. She feels the pull of, like, I shouldn't do anything, but then kisses him and goes, that's what you get. I'm not going to be a toy. I'm not going to be a plaything. Do what you want, but I have a will of my own. And he's like, oh, this is going to be fun. And, of course, the girl who does like Roy hears this and gets even more mad. And that is the end of the manga. So it's interesting, and I do like this one. This one I would like to read more of. So that'll probably be in the future. We'll see what happens. But if you like this video, definitely leave a like. Leave it in the comment section below. Have you read Beasts of Abigaile? Or Abigaile? Beasts of Urbania. That's what I like to call this. What do you think? And should I keep reading? Tell me in the comments section below. And definitely don't forget to subscribe. I am doing my best to get videos up every day, but life is just a potato. Who'd have thought? And if you want to follow me on Twitter or Facebook for if I go live on Twitch, or if you want to give me any questions about like when certain manga and stuff comes out, I will try my best to do that. Or in the comment section below, because hey, I also answer those too. I read those constantly. And I hope that you've been having a very wonderful day. Wolfy-Chan out. Bye.